Two and Two is a BAFTA award-winning Iranian film drama directed by Babak Anvari, which is a story about dictatorship and how people stand up to their own free will. In this essay, I'm going to be talking about how Anvari represents dictatorship and free will in the film, and also how the film engages within short film theory. Secondly, I'll be focusing on a theory called the Five Parameters by Dr. Richard Raskin, and finally comparing Two and Two to Irish short film New Boy, directed by Steph Green. Anvari represents free will and dictatorship in Two and Two. Firstly, the characterization shows that the professor is the most dominant character in the film. I notice this due to his attitude towards the students. Firstly, we see that the way he is dressed shows that he is the most dominant, as he is wearing a blazer, where the students are only wearing a white shirt. Secondly, his personality comes across as being very strict and a cold individual. As the film develops, we notice that when one student tries and stands up against his own free will, informing him that 2 plus 2 equals 4, the professor is emotionless when the student gets shot in the classroom and continues like normal. This shows that he doesn't care about someone being killed. The way this is used to represent dictatorship is that the dictator is against anyone standing up for their own free will. In modern-day Iran, people that are often standing up for their own free will are usually punished or sentenced to death, and Vari represents this very well in the film. Secondly, we see the instruction that when the professor walks into the classroom, the children are forced to stand up, indicating that the professor is acting as a dictator, showing that he has authority on the children's actions. Mise-en-scène plays a huge part to dictatorship in Two and Two, as we see in the film. The setting in a classroom indicates that the children are taught in basic conditions. As we see in the film, the students are being taught off a chalkboard. There are minimal props in the film, as it is structured that the children do not have a lot of belongings, indicating that the film is set in a second world country. Clothing is symbolic in the film as it shows a representation of being strict on uniform. We notice that all of the male students, including the professor, are not wearing ties. In modern-day Iran, it is against the law for males not to wear a tie as it represents Western culture, something that is looked down on by the Iranian government and how corrupt. Cinematography gives out a sign of dictatorship and free will as it shows the personality of the characters but also what authority they have towards each other. Anvari uses mid-long shots each time the character focuses on the professor. The reason Anvari uses this technique is to show the audience how powerless the students are towards the professor, and that the professor is the most dominant out of the students, and he is shown as a dictator. There is no sound, including a backing track throughout the film. I believe the reason there is no sound or music is due to the innocence of the children for standing up for what they believe in. Using no music can also mean that children do not have any voice in the film. Secondly, the ringing ears when the boy gets shot makes it feel that the event is actually happening. Dr. Richard Raskin's theory of the 5 parameters of story design indicates what the properties of a good story for a short fiction film. You often wonder what the properties of a good story are. However, in Raskin's theory, what the properties of a good story are in a short fiction film. In Two and Two, we see the casualty begins where the professor writes that 2 and 2 equals 5 on the chalkboard, causing the students to protest that the right answer is 4. The choice each character makes is 2 of the students believe that choice in standing up for themselves against their own free will and arguing against the professor's right answer. However, as the professor is a lot more dominant than the students, his choice of action was to argue to the student that the answer is 5, not 4. The professor decides to bring the top students in the classroom to show that the student thinks he is better than the top students in the school. In Raskin's theory, the object that can play a central role within a film. In Two and Two, the main object that plays a central role within the film is the chalk and board. The chalk is the object as it is showing us what the teacher is using to teach children. As the story develops, it becomes more useful towards the end. After the student is shot, where blood appears on the board, the teacher uses a rubber to rub out the blood. That is used as a metaphor to indicate that the past is being erased to benefit those in power. Secondly, the blood signals that an idea that fascists in modern-day society will reject any person that has a different opinion of their own. Raskin states in order to have depth in the film, the story must be complicated. The simplicity in Two and Two is very simple to understand as we progress. The story becomes clearer as it gives us a true meaning on what dictatorship and standing up to those in power can have a huge consequence. The story is simple as the Tanway is announcing that there will be huge changes within the school and how the changes can affect us as people in our everyday lives. The similarities between Two and Two and New Boy are that they are both period dramas set in a classroom. Both films have the same opening where the title is secondly the students as seen in 2 and 2, and New Boy. Each have a similar connection, is that they are an innocent powerless towards the teachers. For example, the students raising their hands in scenes indicate how innocent and powerless they are towards the teacher's dominance. Secondly, I noticed that the similarities between the two films can show in the cinematography and the feelings of the characters focus on the feelings of the characters and what sort of character they are in the film. An example of this is that the mid-shot of a girl in New Boy can show that she is disengaged and belonging in some form. The students do not have a strong connection with each other in 2 and 2. However, when a connection occurs, it's normally a confrontational connection. Both of the characters can show that they have a lack of support for one another towards the teachers, as the similarities in both films can show that standing up for yourself can lead to punishment, which is where the similarities lie in both films. In conclusion to this essay, I feel that Anvari's style of film in 2 and 2 makes us feel that we are in the student's position of being dictated. The cinematography is the main element that is used to make us feel we are in the student's position, making us feel that we are under a corrupt regime. The powerful cinematography makes us feel that we are currently experiencing the events in society. Intending Anvari's style and approach in 2 and 2 can make us feel as Westerners what life is actually like in the third world dictatorship country.